Hi, Winnie. Welcome to Outside the Box.
Thank you so much for having me.
As I mentioned to you earlier, this whole thing came about because I had written my book and I thought, I feel like my book has a great message of self care and resilience, but that doesn't really help people necessarily find work. And that's where you come into play. Because when I thought of doing this series, I thought, how can I help people? And I know you've got a lot of great insight into what's going on right now with, the economy and where the jobs are. And so let's start with, for some people who are not familiar with you, what it is you do.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So, I am a longtime financial advisor, and my bio would say, and I also play one on TV. So, I am the regular money person on Good Day LA, as well as and I have a new show coming out, or has come out, on Nasdaq, called Level Up with Winnie. I'm a longtime Forbes contributor. I'm on the CNBC Financial Advisor Council. And so what I do is I make money relatable, and I talk about financial topics on air, but I also do so with clients as well. So this is something that I absolutely do live and breathe right now.
Right. And what's going on with you right now? Because you were saying that you're really busy.
We are so busy. With financial advisors, it's interesting because we help our clients always focus on long-term planning. And that's always been the case. We plan for things like retirement planning, or transitioning out of your workplace, or planning for your kids' college education. But I think right now, because given how terrible this COVID crisis is, and those of us that are staying home, our employees are working from home, everything is so different. And so people are really worried about how they're not only going to forget about, like, retirement planning right now, or education planning right now. People are worried about how they're going to pay the bills, how they're going to
Yes.
rent, how they're mortgage, all their groceries, like living expenses. That's really what we're focused on right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. So to answer your question, I am on TV almost 5 days a week right now. Talking
Amazing.
about this. Mm-hmm.
This is not something anybody would have expected to happen. And, I think about all the people that are worried about putting food on the table, as you said, paying their mortgage, paying their bills, their rent. What can people do? Because I know sometimes it probably feels like if you're submitting your resume online, it feels like a black hole and nothing happens. What are some tips you would say for people that are out of work right now, want to work remotely?
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a little bit of silver lining to all this, in that today, more employers, more people, everybody, you and I, are
Mhm.
online than ever before. So typically, you're right. I mean, once you submit your resume, you might not hear from anybody. And certainly, what's the flip side of this, unfortunately, is that, just last month alone, 20.5 million Americans filed for unemployment. We
Yeah.
expect actually that number to increase tomorrow. But unfortunately, what that does mean that there's more competition. So how do you stand out? And I think one of the best ways to do that right now is to really beef up your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your headshot is nice and clear. Make sure you're smiling. Make sure your bio is strong of what you've done in the past and what you like to do. And I would strongly suggest taking a day or two and reaching out to people who you've worked with, who like you, for those public endorsements, and talking about working with you and how that looks like. And then from there, be really proactive. Like, don't sit back and hope that your future employer finds you, because unfortunately, that's a pipe dream.
Right.
Anything, those jobs that you really want, you have to go out and dig and push and try for. And you can do that all online without putting
Yes.
yourself at risk right now.
And also get ready for those Zoom interviews, because more people are connecting through Zoom or any kind of other technology to want to meet you and connect with you. So you have to put your A game forward.
You have to put your A game forward, and it doesn't even have to be that complicated. I'm here in my teeny tiny bedroom, and
Mhm.
yes, I bought all my studio gear home. But I mean, even if you don't have what I have, you can go on Amazon, pay like $30, $40, get yourself a selfie cam, a selfie light, right?
Mhm.
That can hold your smartphone, and you've got your own little home studio. But you need to make the effort. I think that's critical. I think so many times we get in a place where we're depressed and we're sad, and we feel like, woe is me and life is terrible. And that's okay. You should have moments of that. That's really
Right.
normal. And I think you know that word better than I do. But but there are opportunities to be had if you're willing to go out and look for them.
Let me add to that, because every morning I take a walk about 7:30 in the morning before I start my day. And it's really important to dial into that self-care, especially with what's going on. And if people are unemployed, it's really the time to take care of your whole self, your mental, physical, emotional self, and spiritual self, because people can tell if you're not fully present, if something's going on. You want to really be ready for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to definitely try that tomorrow. I'm all about collecting great knowledge, and you're always full of it.
It just makes me feel good. It helps me tick and start my day off right, kind of breathing, getting out in nature. And I know some people are afraid to go out and take walks, but I'm not. And there are other people out there as well, you know.
Wonderful.
So do you have an insight into what industries right now perhaps are hiring? I mean, I'm seeing Amazon, I'm seeing the delivery services. Do you have any advice to that?
Well, I think to each their own, right? I think in most cases, I am encouraging people that I talk to not work outside the home right now. I think if that's your only opportunity, then it is what it is. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you go to a website like called Fiverr.com, you go to freelancer.com, you can go to Craigslist and whatnot. There's a lot of opportunities where you can add value. We've seen there's definitely been an uptick in terms of people online, right? And creating courses, for example. I have a client who is a retired principal from an elementary school. And, I consider him a young retiree, but he said that, I just need to do something else. And I said, do you realize the massive skill set you have? Because right now, entrepreneurs are at home. And actually, I have a course on LinkedIn Learning. And I was talking to my producer. He says, Winnie, there has been an uptick of almost 800% or more interest in online courses right now.
I know.
That principal could create a course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And could help outline that out, because most of us who are entrepreneurs have never created a course. But think about your skill set, what it is that you've always done, what you're good at, and figure out and get really crafty and get creative and figure out your own path, because every single one of us has value. Sometimes we might not be getting paid for that value right now, but that doesn't mean you're not collecting social currency. So always be mindful of that. Like actually before I jumped on this interview with you, I went live stream and I put it out in the universe. I said, I'm giving presentations about how people can budget and make their money stretch right now and handle their 401k for several large companies right now. I did it for NBC. And they said, I was talking to their employees about what they could do. This is the kind of value that I can offer that I don't need to get paid for. But in time, once we're beyond this, it'll be a good thing.
Sure, because you'll be going on site. Right now, we're all remote.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I learned, Winnie, is to really not say no to things. So, for instance, I was asked to do public speaking and I thought, I've never really done that. This was a few months ago. And I said, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes to everything, because one thing builds on another thing. And I actually developed this course, and you can kind of tweak your course, and it's a freebie. And I'm more than happy to do it, because as you said, I feel like, I'll do this now, and then later on, I'll be invited to go on site, and then things will change.
Right. And you have time to do it now. And previously you were so busy just a few months ago that you didn't have time to do it. And now you're in a situation where, there's so much value. I think the thing that we want to do is to keep busy. And I absolutely love what you said about public speaking, because actually there was an article that just came out yesterday that talked about how Warren Buffett, who is considered by many as one of the best investors ever to step foot on this earth. And he said one of the best investments he did for himself was forcing himself to take a public speaking class. And in fact, if you become a good public speaker and a good writer, that this could potentially increase your income by 50%. So for those of you who are watching and thinking, oh, wow, I don't want to do that, maybe this is a chance to step outside of the box, because then you can start to present your knowledge and your abilities more effectively.
Yes. I think we all have to step outside the box, because it really is a time to grow and work on the skills that perhaps you've been thinking, oh, I'll get to it. And now's the time, because we are at home, to really put the time in for self-growth.
Couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm.
And to not be scared of the technology. I mean, there's so much to learn. There are places to learn. There are things on YouTube to teach you how to do things. For people that want to start a new venture. They're thinking of a small business idea.
Mhm.
What advice would you give them for playing it smart?
I think it's like anything else. I think right now we're all learning the importance of saving. And I read financial news all day long, and all of us are actually spending a lot less money. So you want to do the same thing with your business. Figure out how you can build a business in the most efficient way with the least amount of money with the most productivity. So for many of us, if you're not that strong at social media for business, not for pleasure, you're not that
Yes.
strong at social media for business, this is a time to get better at it. It's a very effective way to grow your business in a very inexpensive way. It does take time, but then that's anything that's valuable is going to take time. In addition, I would say take the opportunity to learn from others. Right now, I just did an interview with Soledad O'Brien, one of the most busy women on the
Love
planet.
her.
Yeah, and I love her, and
Yeah.
she has the time right now because she's at home. And there's a lot of people out there that you might want to reach, you might want to learn from, that you'll be able to reach today that you may not be able to reach the same time next year. So take advantage of that opportunity. Be mindful that their time is very valuable. Bring value to them, and focus how you can continue to bring more value to more people and how that can translate to business. I think that's the critical thing. And build out your community. So many people so focused on just what they themselves are doing and just what the bottom line is, but really the value is exactly, as you know, Janine, is about building that community. And so as you evolve and you try different things, your community can support you on those as well.
Yes. You know, it's interesting you bring that up. It's because one of the things I talk about is kindness right now, to be kind to yourself, but also to be kind and empathetic and compassionate. And I feel like when a business idea comes to you, if you can build it based on helping other people and not so much trying to push and sell yourself, because that will come across to people, but to help people, that would be a wonderful thing right now because so many people need the help.
Absolutely. 100%. I think right now is the time for servant leadership. We need to think about we and not me,
Mm-hmm.
and continue to focus on that. Don't worry about making money. You know what? As long as we're alive and we have medication that we need, we have a roof over our heads, we have groceries to eat later, we're gonna be fine. Let's not get greedy. Let's
Right.
be grateful for what we have, and take our time and energy and expertise and start giving it to the world.
Yes.
Worry about making money later. If you're okay right now, we need to continue to focus in that direction.
Mm-hmm. I've also noticed, and you mentioned this earlier, on LinkedIn, there are so many people obviously online right now. So it's a
Mhm.
wonderful time to connect with whatever you're doing and make those great connections and not be afraid to really reach to people that are maybe really higher up, in the chain in an organization. Just send them a little note or comment. I watched a talk today with somebody from LinkedIn and it was wonderful. This gentleman, Andrew. And I just commented how great it was. And then other people started reacting to my comments. So just engage with people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's not that difficult. Sometimes, if you're a shy person, do it via social media and a
Mhm.
message. And then start to build to a point where you're comfortable sharing your message. We all have value. Imagine if all of us were actively sharing our value with others right now, how many more people together we could positively impact. I mean, if you think about it just for a moment, it's so huge, but it's so easy to forget that we have value. One of my good friends out in New York City, big executive, he actually just get laid off a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
Prior to that, he his house faces a Trader Joe's in New York City. So he decided to create a Twitter handle, and every few minutes, people would tweet him asking how the line was before they went to Trader Joe's. And he would do this all day long, just out of the kindness of his own heart, right? And he says, well, Winnie, it's something that I could do. And I think his handle on Twitter is actually Trader Joe line, Trader Joe's line.
I
So if you
love
want,
it.
like one of the nicest human beings I've known for a long time now. But even this is just, I said, this is so like you, Jacob. I mean, why am I not surprised? Because you're just such a great human that way. But those are things that, just think about any little thing you can do to make someone else's life better. And
Yeah.
that is the answer.
Yes. What would you say to somebody who maybe needs a mentor, someone to turn to for advice? They have an idea or they're not sure. They want to switch to a different career path right now.
So I think that one of the best things to do is this is a great time to find mentors. And I would suggest that you look at Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups in the area that you want to focus on and jump in there, because so often like I'll get messages, I know you do too, of saying like, I really want to get, well, in my case, in the financial industry, can you give me some advice, and can you this, that? And I try to, but the truth of the matter is I'm so busy, right? I can't be that mentor that they need. But if they went to a community of people like me, then if I was busy, then another experienced financial advisor could jump in and give advice, right?
Yes.
And I think right now we have to be mindful of that, is that all of us are going through different things, and we can't assume that if we're not busy, someone else isn't really busy, because that's not the case. And if we're okay, it doesn't mean someone else is okay either. We might assume that, and we could be wrong. So instead, I think right now it's really smart to crowdsource ideas and advice, and that way you get the value that you need, but you're not overstepping and putting too much on someone who may not be in a situation to be able to help right now.
Yes, great suggestion. The other thing I have been doing is reaching out to alumni. So I always say to somebody, find out what, the people that I went to Syracuse. So talk to your Syracuse alumni, talk to your high school alumni, maybe talk to your teachers, your coaches, just network, because people who know you, they'll want to help you. People
can only love you if they know you.
That's true. That's true. So where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, I'm really easy to find. You can, if you want to find out about me coming to speak to your group, for example, or your company about financial planning sort of topics. I used to get paid for this, but right now what value I can bring is I'm opening up to any group. As long as you have at least 30 or 50 more people, I will do a Zoom call all day long and help you and your group about this. So you can go to sungroupwp.com, or if you want to learn about all the media things that I'm doing, you can go to winniesun.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This has been great. Oh, you have Twitter chats too. Don't you have Twitter events?
We do have Twitter chats, and you've been on it. So and we do these public conversations every Wednesday on Twitter. You can follow #WinnieSun, and we're every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern, depending where you're joining us from.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
This has been great.